Lamed Bais on the bottom. See dots. It goes like this. We said we're discussing Kutim. Kutim are the Samaritans. So they're not keeping everything exactly perfect. There's some issues here. Because of those issues, so they're considered Boyale Niddas. That means that their wives are considered a Nidda because they're not accurate in the calculation of the Nidda. So they said that they're Metamen Mishkav Tachten to Eily, that their lower sheet, the bed sheet, the fitted sheet, let's say, the lower one is Metame like the upper one. So we have to explain what that means. We didn't give any explanation when we went. Gemara asks like this: Akutim Metam Mishkav Tachten. Akutim, their Mishkav Tachten, their lower mat, their lower bed, is tummy like the Eily. Now, there's something called Tumas Medras. Tumas Medras is if a Zav or a Zava or a Nidda, they sit on a chair or a bed, that bed becomes very, very tummy. Becomes just like the Nidda themselves, and if they touch someone, they can make a person tummy. That's called Tumas Medras. It goes like this. My Mishkav Tachten to Eily. What does it mean that the Kuti, his lower bed, is like an upper one. It's like something. It's like something above him. If you say that you have 10 mats, we're looking for something where he's not going to touch it. Because touching it is going to make it tummy. We're looking for something where it's going to become tummy because of medras. So you have 10 mats, and he sits on the top. He says, of course it's tummy. He sat on it. It's tumas medras. The daraslu, he sat on it. That's what are we saying? That Mishkav Tachten Ke'elyon, that the lower one should be not what's above him, but should be like the one that he's directly sitting on. Is that what we're saying? That they're all tamei? It's tumas medras. It doesn't matter if it's the one that's directly under him or if it's the one that's all the way on the bottom. So Eily Tachten shel bayin Nidda Ke'elyon shel Zav. No. What's underneath the Bayal Nidda is going to have less tumah. That's going to be the tumah of what's above a zav. Ma el yenish shel zav. Ina metame el eichlin amashkin. Just like something that the zav carries, that's above the zav, that's put on top of the zav, does not become contaminated to the extent that medras is contaminated. It's contaminated only that it becomes a rishon. Look, I have a zav. Zav is a avatuma, a father of tumah. Father of tumah can make people tamei, can make food tamei, can make vessels tamei, can make anything tamei. Then I have what the father of tumah touches. It's called a rishon l'tumah. It's called a vlad, an offspring of tumah. That can only make food tummy. It can't make a person tummy. It can't make vessels tummy.
Food or drink.
So, medras is an avatama. What he sits on is an avatama. What he touches becomes a rishon l'tama. So what he carries becomes a rishon l'tama. So what we're saying here is that a boyal nida, this fellow that's a kuti, his wife is a kuti. That's the main thing. His wife is a kuti. He becomes his bed does not have a status of a medras. His bed has a status of el yoynei shel zav, which is just a rishon l'tama, which cannot make people and vessels tummy. It can only make food and drink.
So is this a kula?
It's a kula. It's a kula.
Over here, say a kuti, the man make the like the woman.
Tell me again.
He say akuti. לא אומר akuti. It means he is מטמא like her.
Yeah, so we're talking about the husband of a kutit.
Yes.
Okay. So the issue here is not so much that he is a kutit, but that his wife's calculations are all off because she's a kutit. So therefore, he's considered a bayal nida. He lives with a nida. Her impurity of nida goes on him when he lives with her. But yes, the expression here is correct, kuti, that it's a kuti that we're dealing with, because that's our issue. It's a kuti family.
So let me make sure I understand. So the kula here is that it's just a rishon between,
yeah,
and not that it's an out tuma.
Right. It's not a medrash.
Tuma medrash.
It's not a real medrash.
It's not a real medrash.
Yeah. So let's read this through. Mal yenish shel zav einu metami aloich lenu mashkin. Just like El Yonish shel zav, not what he sits on, but what's above him, what he carries, is only contaminating to food and drink. Also, the bayal nida, what's beneath the bayal nida, is only going to be contaminating the food and drink, and not to a person into vessels. The Gemara says is going to go through what's the source for all of this. The following: a regular nida sits on something, that chair, mat, bed becomes very contaminated. Her husband that was with her while she was in nida, in sin, sits on something, it does not become as contaminated as if his wife would have sat on it. That's what we're saying. Even though the pasuk says clearly her impurity goes on him, but not for this one detail. How do we know that what's above the zav does not have the same tumah as what's beneath him? And anyone that will touch, and anything that's beneath him will become tamei. My tachtav. What does it mean beneath him? Eily matachtav the zav. If you say it's what's beneath the zav, that means what the zav sits on, which is a regular halacha of medrash. We have another pasuk that says if you touch the bed of a zav, that you become tamei. It's not anything that will touch anything that's beneath, a person that will touch anything that's beneath him, or anything that will touch what's beneath him. It will touch anything that he is beneath. Asher yiyeh tachtav, anything that he is beneath. A little confusing there. Asher yiyeh tachtav, because the pronouns. Asher yiyeh, that he will be tachtav, beneath it. Or yiyeh tachtav will mean he is beneath.
Tachtav is underneath.
Or it. No, because Hebrew doesn't have the neuter pronoun. So anytime there's a feminine or masculine, it could always mean it. And just like Yiyah means, right? He will be, right? It could also mean it will be. So anything that the zav is underneath. Look, what does Olam Haba mean? The world to come or the world that came?
That's not real.
Use cake first.
Okay.
That's what we do.
My neo, what are we talking about? Al Yomi shel zav, something that's above the zav. Okay. For those that are interested, there's a very interesting discussion over here because there's a brackets over here that quotes a pasuk. It says that the pasuk is written Nisa instead of the Hanisa Ksiv, instead of the Hanaise. The problem is Tosfos says that that's not actually what it says in our Chumash. We have it different. And look at Tosfos. We find that our Messiah argues with the Gemara, our tradition. And if you look over there in the Gemara that Taisus quotes Shabbos and Hay, so there's a Rabbi Kiva on the side that goes through a whole bunch of places that the Gemara is different than the Messiah. It's really amazing. The Masoretic text, the text of our so it says Nitko Akasav, the Torah like detached Mituma Chamura ve'yivili de Tuma Kala. The Torah detaches the strict Tuma and puts it onto a lighter Tuma. That means that what the Baal Nidda, the man that was together with the Nidda, his Tuma only contaminates food and drink. Okay? How do you know it goes so far? We said, yeah, it's removing it from the strict Tuma of making people tummy, but maybe it's not going so far. Maybe a regular medrash makes the person tummy and the clothing that he's wearing tummy. If a person touches that medrash, the chair or bed that he's sitting in, maybe it's the Baal Nidda's chair or bed is not only making food tummy, it's making a person tummy also. Just not to the extent that a regular medrash would make it tummy. A regular medrash would be, if the person touches it, he becomes tummy and his clothing becomes tummy. Here, just the person becomes tummy, not his clothing. And we've still satisfied this removal in the pasuk that it's not as strict as the original. The Gemara says, Amakra Yitma, Tuma Kalamashim. It says, no, he should be tummy. Should be tummy sounds like a light Tuma. Yitma, his tummy. Not, or it will be tummy. Not that the person will be tummy or clothing will be tummy. Just it will be tummy. That means food or drink. Okay. That's where we know El Yomi Shel Zav. Oh, I was describing it with the step ahead. This Gemara so far was only describing El Yomi Shel Zav. How do we know that El Yomi Shel Zav has this tumah? Okay, now we have to go back to how do we know that the Baal Nidda, that what's underneath him has the same tumah of El Yomi Shel Zav. Yeah, I jumped a step over that.
Wow. Excuse me, the pasuk includes the word kala.
No. It says the pasuk says Yitma.
Yitma.
And Yitma, the Gemara understands as Tumakala Mashma. Yitma, quotations. Tumakala Mashma. That sounds like a light Tuma.
Why? Because it adds a yud. Why does that sound like a light?
It doesn't say what it usually says. It usually has like Chabas Begodov or something. Maybe it adds in Yitma Da'arev or some other expression. It goes like this. And where do we know that what's beneath the Baal Nidda also has the light Tumah of El Yomi Shel Zav that we just explained? The Tanya was taught in the Bais. Batini Dasalav. It says her Nidda will be on him. Baal Nidda, the man that lives with the Nidda. Yachal Yala Laragla. Interesting question. The Nidda has 7 days of impurity. Her impurity goes on him. Does it start over? She's up to day 6. He lives with her. He has 1 more day. Or do we say that no, it starts from him from number 1. And he has to count another 7 days. Maybe Yachal Laragla, he should go with her counting. Tamalaymer Yitma Zayin Yamin. Tummy Shivas Yamim, I guess it says. Tummy Shivas Yamim. It's tummy for 7 days. Even if he lives with her on the 7th day, he's going to be tummy. He starts over. He's tummy 7 days. So what does it mean that her impurity is on him? Because I could have thought that he will not contaminate a person or an earthenware vessel. is a chiddush over here, that you can contaminate an earthenware vessel, that usually an earthenware vessel is only tamei from the airspace. But you can actually, if you put something inside it, not from the outside. Touching the outside of an earthenware vessel doesn't make it tamei. But however, you could still make it tamei if you lift it or move it, because when you move it or lift it, you're moving the airspace as well. So you're actually contaminating it from the inside. It's as if you contaminate from the inside. So maybe he shouldn't be able to make a person or a klisharis tamei. Talmud Laima, the pasuk says, "Vatini dasa love," that her impurity is on him.
So does that mean he can make his own medrash tamei, like she did?
Not medrash. We're going to see in a second. So far, we're just touching. Just what he touches. He's like a Nidda. He touches. She touches. Makes a person tummy. He touches. He makes a person tummy. Mahi metam adam kli afu metam adam kli cheres. The Gemara says, 1 second. Dr. Stein. Imahu he. Aisa mishka v'meishav l'tami adam l'tami megadim afu aisa mishka v'meishav l'tami megadim. Should what he sits on or lays on be metama a person to make him so tummy that his clothing would become tummy, just like what she sits on could make that tummy to make a person tummy and his clothing tummy. Talmud Laima, the pasuk says no. It says anything that he sits on becomes tummy. It's a little repetitive there. It doesn't need to say it got bored. It says etc. So why does it need to say etc. that this pasuk? That extra pasuk is telling me to tell you that what he sits on becomes tamei, but it will only contaminate eichlin and mashkin, only food and drink. Parach Rabbi asked the question. So in Ksubas, Rabbi Taishish over there says that it's not one of the Amirai. It's Rabbi going. It's from the going. It's from after. And somehow it got put into these. I don't think he's going to be on the charts. He's after the Rabbi and Ravashi. However, here there's going to be a problem because there's going to be a response from Ravasi. So.
Is this whole discussion specific to Kuti?
That's a good question. What we're doing is we're saying that every kuti has this status. The discussion is relevant to anyone, but they would have to be specific that they live with, that they were a Baal Nidda. A kuti is always a Baal Nidda because of his wife's calculation. We explained that they don't do it right. So every kuti is a Baal Nidda, but it could happen if another person is a Baal Nidda, would have the same law. It's just okay. Baruch Rabbi Chai has a question. The same question that we asked before when we were talking about Al Yomi Shel Zav, what's above Zav. We said that it can't make a person tamei, and it can't make a vessel tamei, but it can make food and drink tamei. So we said, how do you know? Maybe it could really make a person tamei, it just can't make him so tamei to make his clothing tamei as well. Now we're saying exactly the same question, but from what's underneath the Baal Nidda, because we compared what's above the Zav, it's the same status as what's beneath the Baal Nidda, the person, the man that lives with the Nidda. And we're saying that he shouldn't be able to make a person the chair should not be able to make a person tummy. Rabbi asks, maybe it could make a person tummy, it just can't make him so tummy that his clothing become tummy along with him. Ravasi Yitma. Ravasi says Yitma to Makala Mashma. You see, Ravasi is responding to Rabbi. It must be an earlier Ema. So that Yitma is to Makala, that it just makes food and drink tummy. Ema Vatini Dasal of Klal. Ema is an interesting question here. Maybe when it says that her impurity goes on him, that's going to be a general rule. V'chola mishkav, and then that pasuk that we said is extra. Anything that he sits on is a prat, is the detail. Now, klaluprat, if I have the general rule, and then afterwards I have the detail, ein b'chlal ala masha b'frat. There's nothing in the general rule other than that detail. Mishka b'meisha bin midiachin aloi. Maybe all there is just what he sits on. Now, I'm not sure if what the Gemara means to say is to limit his impurity. That's what it sounds like. What the Gemara is saying over here is that maybe the only impurity that can be imparted from a boyel nida would be mishka, because there's a klal prat. Only what he sits on. That's the only thing that could become tummy, not what he touches. Amar Abaya, the tummy shivas yamim, says Yitma over here. The tummy shivas yamim mafsek inyan. That divides up. It's not really a klal prat because the pasuk, you have to look at the pasuk, it's a slightly longer, and it says, Havi klal prat merchakim zemizeh. They're too far apart, the klal prat. Klal prat merchakim zemizeh ain't done nice with klal prat. You can't judge it as a klal prat because you're pulling a general from here, you're pulling a specific from there. It's too far apart. Rava Amar Leilam done, and Rava says, no, you can make this as a klal prat, not like Abaya just said. B'chol ribuyahu. But it says the word b'chol, and that can't tell me a detail. The kol has to tell me a general. Kol means all. So it can't be a klal prat. You can't say b'chol is a detail. Maskef la Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov has a question. Ema kihi. Maybe it should be like her. Mahi lechalakta ba bein maga l'mishkava l'tam yadam l'tam begadam l'chumra. Afu leitachlik ba bein maga l'mishkava l'tam yadam l'tam begadam l'kula. She is able to touch someone and make him tamei, and his clothing become tamei. She is able to sit on something, and that thing that she sits on touches a person, makes him and his clothing tamei. So we see that there's consistency in her tumah. So too, we should go over to the man that lived with her, that just like he cannot make a person tamei by what he sits on, he also shouldn't be able to make a person tamei by touching him, and we'll have it consistent that his tumah will be less. Amarava alav lahatine mashma. No, when it says vatini dasa alav, that her impurity is going to go on him, it has to be some chumrah. Alav, it sounds like it's making it heavy. Latina is like to weigh him down. It's supposed to be a stronger tumah, not to make it lighter. Okay. Next Gemara. With Menachem Bailey Niddas, we said that they are Bailey Nidda. Anyone that any kuti is considered a Bailey Nidda. Gemara asks, "Atukula Bailey Niddas?" They're all Bailey Niddas. Let's say they're not even, they're single people. How do you know they're married and all of that? So I'm Rabbi Magdala ben Asur Shana. Talking about those that are married are Bailey Niddas because the wives don't do the right calculations. Supposed to say I'll call down from they sit, which means they consider themselves tamei on any sort of blood that they see. Tanya, stood in the Bais, Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, I'll call down v'dam, the kana gedolei lem. That sounds like a good thing. If they consider themselves tamei every time they see blood, so why are you saying that their husbands are considered Bailey Niddas? They're considered themselves tamei. They're extra strict. Rather, they see red blood and they complete it onto green or yellow blood that was actually tar. Which means like this, that they saw blood, let's say on Sunday, but it was tar. They consider themselves tamei because they don't know the difference. They consider it tamei. When they see red blood on Wednesday or Thursday, they say, okay, I'm almost done anyway because I started on Sunday. So they go to the mikveh on Shabbos. Meanwhile, the tumah only started on Wednesday. They have to go to the mikveh the following week, Tuesday or Wednesday, because 7 days later. So really, they're going to the mikveh too early in the middle of the days of Nidda. Another pshat why they're considered nidas and therefore the husbands are considered bayil nidas. Yom shepesekes beis sefartei sefrasei leminyan shiva. The day that they do the hefsek tara, they already count as day one. That's when you teach chasanim. So you have to make sure that they do the counting to say, okay, so tell me, here's where the period came. When are you going to, you have to have them do the work. Because otherwise, they'll say, yeah, and they don't really recognize that you can't, which day to count as day one, can you count that to hefsek tara as day one or not? So here, the kutim would count the hefsek tara as day one. We did it during the day. They're like, okay, that's day one. And really, day one starts the next day. This is another pshat and why and what they're doing wrong. Okay. Maskefla Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama has a question. There's a daring question. Let him do that. Why don't we do that too? The Kaimel and Mixasim Kule, we have a rule that part of a day is considered like a whole day.
The whole point of the hefsek tara is with the shmashas. Right, you can't do it in the morning. There's no point doing hefsek tara at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Not 100%. Not 100%. First of all, they're discussing a zava. Now, a zava actually could do a hefsek tara in the middle of the day. You go to the mikveh in the middle of the day.
Hefsek tara the whole time.
You're right. Okay. So the term hefsek tara is incorrect. Okay. On the third day of a zava, a zava needs 7 clean days. So she does a hefsek tara, and the following day is day one. But here we're saying that you can count that day as well. Why are we doing Bein Hashmashos, the hefsek tara? She can do it really during the day as well. We see that she didn't see blood. Because when you're dealing with Nidda, Mayana Pasuach Kol Shiva, there's all 7 days. Then it really doesn't help. I'm not sure why it specifically it needs to be Bein Hashmashos. It says that it's Bein Hashmashos is for the Ma'if. That's something else. Right. That's my
But you have to draw a line. Say, okay, this day was, this day wasn't.
No, it says that you're not supposed to do it too early. It says.
Right.
Okay. Amar Rava. So Rava is the brother-in-law. Is he the brother-in-law? No, he's not the brother-in-law. He's the second husband of Rami Bar Chama's wife. 2 that I know of. Rami Bar Chama dies, and then Rava marries. That's not considered a brother-in-law. So Amar Rava. Rava responds, Im Kain, if you're going to say that you calculate the first day, the day of the hefsek tara, as the first day of the 7, Im Kain Shechva Zera the Sasa Buzi ve'echem Mishkachasla. You have a rule like this. There's a zav also has to count 7 days. Now a zav is a type of emission that it's like it's an unhealthy type. It's considered a disease, as opposed to shechva zera or keri, which is the natural emission. Now, if a zav has 3 riyas, 2 riyas even, 3 would be, he has to bring a carbon as well. But if someone becomes a zav, he has to count 7, even a man, he has to count 7 clean days. If he sees a keri or shechva zera during those 7 days, that one day doesn't count. that day doesn't count. And he has to count an extra day. So here we're saying like this. How do we have a case of Shechva Zera that's going to scratch off one day from the 7 that you're going to need to replace it with another day? How is that possible? But Mixasiyim Kikulai. He's going to have Shechva Zera in the middle of the day. He'll have the Thomas Carry in the middle of the day. So the rest of the day is clean. If you say Mixasiyim Kikulai, so what's your whole story about knocking off a day because that day wasn't clean? The rest of the day was clean. What's the answer? So it goes like this. If you see in the middle of the day, then you're right. But talking about that you saw right before Shkia. So that's just it. Are you going to get up and say to the pasuk that it's only written before that this halacha is only written in that one case when he sees right before Shkia? Is in, yeah, that's what we're going to say. Al karchach shavki lakra. That's what we're going to have to leave the pasuk to mean. I don't know what it means because he's pushed and established it on himself. How do they translate that? Is this a claim to Rami Bar Chama or to Rava? What do you have in there in English? Actually, it doesn't go this way. It goes this way. Yes, you are forced to abandon the more inclusive interpretation of the verse and to interpret instead in a strained manner, as exclusively discussing when others start seeming near sunset. The EU dachet. The EU dachet. Who's the Ihu? Mukian of Shay. They don't really translate that.
I think the EU is the man.
Okay. What we just concluded here was that the only time it would be Seiser, the only time that Shechva Zera would knock off a day of 7 days would be if it's right before Shkia. Pesa says to ignore the conclusion of this Gemara because we have other Gemaras that say differently. See, the problem with making rulings from the Daf Yomi share.
There's no halacha in the Daf Yomi.
Is because the Gemara is not organized perfectly to have the complete sugya right here. You know, can't in Hilchas Shabbos you have to know Hilchas Erevin and you have to know Mesachtas Shabbos, Erevin, and Beya, and then you have things from Shabbos all over Shas. You have things that complete. And you say, oh, I learned Mesachtas Shabbos, now I know all of Hilchas Shabbos. No, it's not complete. Even if you learn it with the Taisvitz and all the Rishonim and all of that, there's other sources in the Gemara that so it's not organized perfectly to give you the full treatment. Okay. Boy Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama asked the question. If a woman is together with her husband and the semen, the Shechva Zera that's in the inside her, comes out of her. Well, she was with her husband, so her husband
During her time of Nidda?
Oh, why? Yeah, this is a problem. That's a very good point. Rashi says that this was in sin. This was a sin.
So like during her
Taisus has a way of working it out. Rashi doesn't get into that. Just give me 1 second to get through this, but that's a good point. So a woman is peleta shechva zera. Peleta means she's spitting out shechva zera that she received inside of her from her husband. So Marsha Tister Beziva. Should it spoil the 7 clean days of her that she's waiting to be in during the 7 clean days? Now, if it would be a man that was a Zav, and he has to wait 7 days, 7 clean days, in the Shifas are in the middle, so that knocks off 1 day. Here we're asking Moshe Tister, should she have to recount from the beginning? Is this considered Raya Haisa V'Seiseres? She now sees. Is it? I don't even know if is the Gemara asking to start over, or is the Gemara asking just to take off 1 day? What does it say in the? It should be just 1 day. Shatistar doesn't mean it means to break 1 day. That's really. Should it be that it breaks 1 day? Oidilma, or maybe Nagasaisa. She's just touching it. It's not really from her. And it doesn't break the day. Now, Bais over here mentions that for this reason we wait 4 days. Yom Echad. Thank you. What would we do without it? So,
The one would be much better.
No, don't give it to him. No, he loses that.
He needs an extra one for confidence. So, Tosfos mentions over here that the 5 days and the 7 days that we wait, the 7 is for the clean, because you need 7 clean days for the. Why do we wait 5 days? Because of this Gemara. 5 days comes from this Gemara. Now, Tosfos doesn't say 5. Tosfos says 4. 5 is a chumrah from the Ramah that the Ramah is very strict about. So someone that Pirat Skeder Yishchena Nachash, someone that takes leniency, the words of the rabbi should be bitten by a snake.
So tell that to the king that his poets did.
Oh. Melech Pirat Skeder.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Gemara's question here: should it break a day, or should it not? Or should it be just considered that she touched them? Look, if a woman touches a sheretz, a dead creeping creature, that she's when she's tamei, she doesn't have to start counting over. She doesn't lose a day from that. It's a different tumah. So here also, it's a different tumah. It's not a tumas zava. She's seeing blood for zava. Now shechva zera is coming out of her. It's not even from her. Okay. Amar Rava responds to Rami Bar Chama from Chorfa Shabeshta. It's a famous expression in the Gemara. You're so sharp that you're making simple mistakes. With all your sharpness, you miss the point. Nihinami desasra. Even if you say that it's going to break a day, even if it's going to break, kama tista, how much should it break? Tista shiva. You want it to break the 7? Daya kabayla. So the Gemara discusses how much it was. It should be like the husband. Tista yom echad. You want it to be 1 day. Va'achar titar. It says that va'achar titar amar Rachmana. And after she'll be pure, the Hashem says, the Torah says. Achar achar lekulan. That means all the days need to be consecutive. So it can't break a day. You can't have tum in between. Gemara asks, according to you, Rava, you're making a big deal that the days need to be consecutive. How does it work by a man that when he sees shechva zera, it only breaks 1 day? You have the same point as to his purity. And if that sounds like there should be no impurity in between. That you can't have 2 separate purities, 3 and then 4 or something, because 1 day in the middle didn't count. What are you going to say? When it says va'achar titar, and after she will be pure, it just means that she can't have a ziva in the middle of the 7 days. But other types of impurity, she can. So even though it's not consecutive, but it's consecutive from, there's no ziva in the middle. There is other tumah in the middle, but there's a day that doesn't count, but it's not ziva in the middle. That's how it's quoted actually in the Rush, and then it's quoted like this. Okay. They come into the temple, you're not chayav for bringing a sacrifice. This is because there's just a doubt if their wife did this messed up calculations because of green blood or yellow blood, or maybe the other thing they counted that day. We don't really know that that's what they did. So you don't bring a sacrifice if they entered into the temple. Rav Papa iklay l'tabach. Rav Papa came to Tabach. Here's Rav Papa. It's down here. So far today we had Abai and Rava. Now Rav Papa. Do we have anyone else? Rabbi we had Rabasi. Okay.
So they did, going back a moment, so not to bring a carbon because there's a suffix.
That's a suffix, yeah. And you don't bring carbon, you don't want to bring chulin lazara. So, Amar, he comes to Tabach. Amar, he says, is there a rabbi here, a yeshiva student? I'd like to go and greet him, to say shalom aleichem. Amar le'ahi savta. This older woman says to her, now, Saba was Eily, this must be his wife. Reminds me, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman has an essay on, that's an essay on if you're allowed to marry Eliyahu Navi's wife. If she's, because Eliyahu Navi never died. So is she still considered married or not? Anyway, it's a theoretical question because
he never passed.
Right.
He didn't divorce her before he went up?
It doesn't tell us that.
She's in a good.
Oh, Moshe Rabbeinu did it. I'm assuming he probably did the same.
It's interesting. We learn the laws of mourning from Eliyahu Navi. Some of the laws of mourning from Eliyahu Navi, which is interesting because he didn't really pass away. But Elisha, we learned what Elisha did by Eliyahu Navi. I think he tore his clothing or something. So there is a young rabbi here, Rav Shmuel Shmei, and his name is Rav Shmuel, and he teaches prices. It should be after the will of Hashem that you should only be like him. That's what this lady tells to Rav Papa. If you would be like him, you'd be okay. He says, "Oh, Amar, if she's blessing me that I should be like him, Shmamina Yer Shemaimu, he must be God fearing." So he goes to him, Rama Latura. He shechts a sheep, not a sheep, an ox. Sure, I can't say shin and taf. I'm not allowed to say that anymore. So Rama Le Masnisin Adadi. This is like I don't know if this is a pun. Rama Latura, Ramas, he places an ox, like to throw, to cast, or to place. Rama, he cast the ox in front of him, like as he shechted, he prepared. So Rama Lamasnisi, he cast Bryce's contradiction between Bryce's. I don't know. It doesn't say who's asking who. Rav Shmuel is asking to Rav Papa. Is that what it says? It goes like this. So he's doing both. Okay, good. Tanan, we start in our Mishnah, You're not chayiv if you go to bring a korban if they go into the temple, even though they're by Nidda, possibly, because it's only possibly. And you don't bring the truma because it's only a suffix. Alma misfekale surfin on truma. We see that if it's a doubt, you don't burn truma. But I'll ask you a contradiction. Al shisha fake of surfing as a truma. There's 6 doubts that you do burn truma. Al safik big dam aretz. And one of them is big dam aretz. clothing of an Amaretz that we don't know if he's Tameh, but we assume that he is. So if it touches Truma, you burn the Truma. Amar Rav Papa says, Yehi Rava de L'tachal Haitura L'shalma. If only I could eat this ox in peace.
So
I don't know what it means. I don't know what, yeah.
This outfit goes over there.
Oh, Hachav Mayaskinan, he says, what's the answer? The Kuti Chaver. This Kuti is someone that's pure. He's a Chaver. Chaver means that he keeps everything pure. He knows the halachas and he's doing it right. So Rav Shmuel responds to him, Kuti Chaver Bayal Nida Mashvis like. You're telling me he's a Chaver, and at the same time you're telling me he's a Bayal Nida. So
not giving up.
Shavke Vasal Kamid Rav Simi Barashi. Apparently, he didn't eat it. This was a whole meal prepared. He goes to Rav Simi Barashi. Amalei, my time alei Meshanasle Bekuti Shetavel Bala V'Daras Al Big Day Chaver. Why don't you just answer? He's a kuti that went to a mikveh. He touched the clothing of a chaver. He stepped on him. Va'azlu big day chaver v'naga b'truma. And now the big day chaver touched truma. The imisham tumas amaretz. If you want to say that it's tumas amaretz, atavalei. He went to the mikveh. Imisham bayal nida. And if it's because of it was a bayal nida, so suffik bal b'karev, suffik lay bal b'karev. We don't know if it was recent that he had relations, or maybe it was 7 days ago, and now he's already ready to go to the mikveh. And if you say that it was recent and it's a problem, maybe she messed up the calculations, maybe she didn't. We don't know what she saw the first few days. And that's a double doubt. You don't do a burn shuma for svek seika. So it's v'tebek mishum big day amaretz. The Amar Mar big day amaretz medrus laprushim. What about his own clothing? His own clothing is a problem. That touched the clothing of the that he's walking on. We're talking about that he's naked. So he doesn't have clothing. He only touched someone else's clothing. Those clothing are touch the truma, and over there you won't have to burn the truma.
So he wasn't able to eat it. Okay. Why does it bring that?
I'll leave it at the Mishnah.
But if he was naked, so that implies that he was wearing clothes.
It would be
coming.
Right.
So why does he have to answer that he was naked? Why don't you just say yes? You're right. It's supposed to be coming.
Right. Why do we need to have a strange case?
Exactly.